Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents a media agency, please contact Jeff R. Hi, I'm Frank. I'm an addict.
Hi, Frank.
The members of the North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcomes you to the 5th annual We Grow with Love convention. We would like to thank you for joining with us in this celebration of recovery. We are deeply grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find great joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you, our family. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our love with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together and for each other, knowing that we need each other because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface to the basic text begins, "The full fruit of a labor of love lives in the harvest," and that always comes in its right season. For us, our season has come. Beth, you read just for today?
Hello, my name is Beth and I am an addict. Just for today. Tell yourself, just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as we follow that way, we have nothing to fear. Just for today.
Thanks, Beth. I guess I get to introduce Chuck.
What was I supposed to talk about? Relationships? Somebody said a minute ago, relationships, everybody likes to talk about them. And, I think the first relationship that I made when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I tried to establish a relationship with myself because I never knew who I was. Secondly, I tried to establish a relationship with my higher power. And thirdly, with all the significant people in my lives. But relationships, anybody that you have contact with, you're really having a relationship with. Doesn't matter if it's your employer. There's that relationship between an employer and employee, and they are supposed to act accordingly. There's a relationship that you have with your higher power, and that's a very personal thing. I don't really want to get into that because everybody has their own belief system. But saying that with a higher power, it seems to me that for many years, my prayer was, get me off of this damn active addiction thing. I don't care what you do. And my God took me at my word, and he allowed me to fall down my basement stairs. And I always tell that story because it's kind of funny because, you get what you pray for sometimes. But and the way it worked out, my cat was coming up the stairs and I was going down, and all of a sudden I was at the bottom, and with no thoughts of really doing anything about my addiction at the time. Except when I hit the bottom, I thought I broke my hand because it went like that. And I think that was probably my first real relationship with the God of my understanding, because as I laid there at the basement floor looking up, for some reason I counted the number of steps up to the top, and it was 12. So my wife called when I was telling the fire department, is the one that does that, and they came out and they got on the radio, and my thinking was, well, I got to go to the hospital anyway, get this dumb thing x-rayed. So why don't you kill two birds with one stone and stay there at the treatment center and see what the hell happens. But then, after that, I tried to patch up all these relationships that were so strained with my wife, my mother, and my children. And it was a very hard thing to do. That they were so fractured, and trying to make the amends was very difficult. I'd never gotten along with my mother very well, and she was, let's see, well, she died when she was 92, and she must have been in her 80s or something like that when I came into recovery. And I knew damn well if I patched up all this stuff that sooner or later she was going to die. But I wanted that relationship to be patched up. The same with my wife. It just so happened she came into recovery about 18 months after I did. And our marriage was on pretty shaky grounds at that time. And the way things worked out, it was just prior to our 25th wedding anniversary. And we sat down and talked things over. We were going to try and make a go of it or go our separate ways. As a result of that, on our 25th wedding anniversary, we went to church and renewed our marriage vows. But I think the relationships that you form within this fellowship are probably some of the more binding and lasting relationships that you can make. Because with all the other people, they really don't understand us. But here, we're all cut from the same cloth. What your addiction was, it doesn't really matter. That we can all be in a family together and make this binding relationship of recovery. And that is probably one of the miracles. I really don't know what all to say about what is the rest of the thing about sponsorship too. Relationship between a sponsor and a sponsee is probably one of the tightest things that can go on, because there you can really get close with a person and reveal all your inner faults and your hurts and things that you would probably never tell another human being. And sponsorship can be is a two-way street. Because I remember one time I had a sponsor that relapsed, and he called me on the phone. He says, "You know what? Now you're the sponsor." I didn't really come in here to cry today, but
You went there.
I was asked to do this workshop about 5 minutes ago. And I guess tears kind of purify the soul too, I really can't say too much more about it, but it's our relationships with each other and with the God of your understanding and your family, they become what you make of them. And it's a lot of it goes back to the amends. And the only amends I could make to people was not to use anymore. So anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Chuck. Our next speaker is Rick G.
Yeah, my name Rick. I'm grateful for being here well clean. I want to thank Chuck for taking on that miracle he just did. I was thinking about the intimacy. I think I was in a convention over in Rockford one time, and they had a topic on intimacy. And I know today that intimacy is into me, you see, and getting intimate with my sponsor, intimate with my sponsees, and intimate with God. And it's like I never knew what intimacy was as a child. I had a brother, we would get intimate, but we would go into fights, and it's like today, sitting here and a lot of feelings going on. I saw him, shed his tears. Because at times my tears be like frozen up in me. And I'm just grateful today to know that I can be intimate. And today it's like I know that intimacy is just not sex. Being intimate with somebody just on the level of letting them see the core of Ricky G for what I am. And I can't do that with all folks. And today I know that I have boundaries. That I'm grateful that I can get intimate with my mother. I still stay with my mother, and I'm grateful for it without a basket case. I can get intimate to a point that where I can go right out there by that lake and just be still and get into the moment. I get intimate with my sponsor when he say stuff like, just be consistent, keep doing what you got to do, share your experience, sprinkle hope, be you, learn how to value yourself, and asking for forgiveness, and realize that a lot of times what I thought intimacy was, being in the 40ish, found out that I didn't know nothing. Really learning that I was really locked and loaded into a lot of unhealthy relationships. Now I'm learning what healthy relationships mean. A person that was real dear to me and real close to me, son got killed, and what, July 1st will be a year. But I know the unconditional love with that person is still there and it's still central. And that today I got a God in my life and I can put her there. Because I know a lot of times making that commitment and trying to live by that decision and following it through with action, I have to really apply that and have to really be committed to it. Because this retreat here is it's kind of like coming off to the leveling point where I'm like getting spiritually centered. I was going through a giggling thing the other night, dancing and everything. My little inner child came out and I was having a ball, and today I'm glad that I still have that kind of buoyancy about myself, that kind of enthusiasm. This is my month. I celebrated 12 years only through the mercy of grace and God. Right. And I know that mercy and grace come in the 6th and 7th step. And it's like at any given moment I might find myself getting real intimate and ain't nobody around. Because I experienced something a long time ago. I was at the house and I just sat back and all of a sudden I done just like Chuck. Only thing, it wasn't nobody around. And that touched me. And that's a blessing. Hear somebody say mother stayed alive almost 92 years. Now the difference with me and my father never done nothing for me in my life. And I'm 40-something years old. But today through this program I can get with him and just reminisce with him sometime. But as far as, just going up to him and really hugging him, I never got that. And it's only through this program. I have 4 sisters, a younger brother that stays in Minnesota, and I got a card right back there now in my bag that he sent me for Thanksgiving, that he treasured his older brother, That intimacy is something that I thrive on today. And I really try to apply it, because I believe that it really gets to the core who I really am. That I'm really not all that. I'm really not unique. You know, and that I can get up and say that I'm a worthwhile person, even when I feel like yuck. One while I was up there, I was going like this. I was sleeping and coming in and out. Then I went down there by that little lake, and that little 6-year-old boy was saying, that snail got little legs. I didn't even know that. You know, and it's the little bitty things that count for me today, you know. Because I also know that I can get caught up into a quick fix and a fixed idea for a short-term pleasure that'll equal out to long-time pain. You know, it's just like I try not, just like I'm not involved with nobody right now, and I don't feel bad about it. Like I can identify with what Chuck said, having a relationship with myself, the God of my understanding, and I believe that saying, out of self, into God, into others. And I still try to apply that today. I know that humility is coming down there, just being honest, because sometimes I can be an asshole. Sometimes I can stuff some stuff and don't want to own up to it. Sometimes I don't want to do my writing. I want to stuff it up under the bed, but I want to share my sponsor. Have you really started writing on your 4th step? And I haven't even been doing my own writing. You know, and I know that it's always 2 sides to everything. And today I try not to make a molehill into a mountain. Because when I go up in this enemy line here up in my head, I can get lost in these apartments up here sometimes. One of you beautiful artists can bring me back home. And I'm grateful that even while I was canoeing, I was getting intimate with the people that I was doing it with. You know, and it's like, it took me back to when I was in the 4-H club. And I used to deal with a lot of children. And maybe that might be what my higher power want me to get back to. I'm grateful that I'm a great uncle. Don't have no children. But I deal with a lot of children. I got a bunch of nieces and nephews. And they know today that they can rely on their Uncle Ricky. And I'm grateful for that. I go to their PTA meetings. They wanted me to be a basketball coach, a baseball coach, and I kind of got a little bit of denial about the coaching because it was like I did it one time and none of the parents wanted to pay for the kids, you know, and the best players was the ones that I had to pay for, and I didn't mind doing that. And today I'm glad that some things I can do better and some things I cannot. Sometimes I have a hard time of asking people to help me. And that didn't just start while I just come in recovery. That's been with me a lot of times. Sometimes the self-righteous attitude can get in the way. And then I have to realize, man, just ask somebody. I don't know, that's just a part of my nature. And today, you know, it's like when I really get intimate and I really get real about what's going on with me, really deep down inside of me, you know, and realize, hey, I'm grateful that what I do have there, that I got my mind back, because I lost my mind out there when I was youth. And being here at this retreat, I remember what about back in '84, they had me down in Logansport State Middle School. Y'all know where that college at?
Yeah, I know where it's at.
Mm-hmm. And it was 2 sides. You know how they had a side for the ones that don't believe? They had me on that side and the other side. And God allowed me to make it through that storm. And I'm still here today. Out of 60 folks, I was the only one that's still around here today. And I'm grateful for that. I saw one guy and I ran up to him and I wanted to hug him. I was just so glad to see him. He said, I don't know you. I said, it's Ricky G. And we used to sit out in treatment and play a good talk. Cause I like to sing. Like last night when they closed the thing with the little song, Lean on Me. To me, that's just a recovery thing. And that's a theme song in my life. When I really break the words down and what it's really saying, you know, I need somebody to lean on. That might be my sponsor, because like Chuck said, it's a 2-sided street, and it's the heart. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. It's just like sometimes I might want to share something with my mother. I plan what I'm going to say. When I go in the living room, I don't even say it. But she know I had that kind of thing about me. She know I love her, but it just don't come, you know, just how us men's is. You women smokers and feelings. We like to talk facts. You know, and even with the lady that I dealt with for the last 8 years, she used to say some things to me and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But I wouldn't really come on with it, Mike. I was like, hold it back. But I can say one thing, I know how to treat a woman. That's why I ain't looking for nobody else. I put her in the God box. And I felt for her when her son got killed, got shot down like a dog. And I'm finally starting to heal from that. Because when that happened to her son, my little nephew, they found him in the back of a trunk, and we saw it on the news. And that was my cousin's baby boy. And I know this program works, you know. I have a little niece that I got real intimate with, and I knew it had to be God. And her mother killed my brother, and she asked me, did I think that her mother meant to kill my brother? And I told her I couldn't answer that. She even one time tried to bring her mother to the house, and I told her, no, you cannot bring your mother in this house, because that's my mother sitting right over there. That was her child. You know, and you know, grief is nothing to play with. Grief can bury a person if you don't heal from it. Even in recovery, sometimes I can bring the grief on myself if I don't 10-step myself, if I don't take that check up and the neck up. Because sometimes my motives can be good, and sometimes they can be a pavement, which we say a pavement is just like having good intentions can be for hell. You know, and it's like today, I'm a little bit more centered. I go through a sleep disorder. And I know that a lot of that stuff comes from when they hid me in them little funny little rooms. But that's okay. Because I know, man, my higher power done been good to me, you know. And I'm just grateful for this, I call it an ultimate reality. You know, and it's a spirit within a spirit. He might like wearing blue hats, I don't know. But he's loving and caring. He had to love me because he brought me a mighty, mighty long way. And I'm glad that I got some principles in my life that I can be governed by. I'm grateful for people like Jimmy K that I never met in my life. But somebody told me a long time ago, the spirit of these people, they still live on. I was sharing with somebody the other night that if I pass on, I'm going to probably be up in heaven somewhere telling them to get the coffee pot out. Let's have some meat and get the cookies and good stuff like that. You know, just like having coffee and going after meetings talking with people. At times, you don't know where a conversation can go. I was down in Memphis, Tennessee one time talking to a guy, and he said, man, they had shot him and left him for dead. He said he was dead, but he could hear everything them people were saying. And I was like, mouth was wide open. And he just kept going on. And he said, Rick, man, I never met you, but I'm a homosexual, I'm this and that. And it didn't matter. It didn't even matter. Because I felt that empathy, you know, that real empathy when you really like doing a fifth step with your spouse and you identifying, and they might be shedding tears and you shedding tears, and you get into that empathy where that true empathy comes when you really listening to that person, when you getting out of yourself and getting into them and really feeling it. And that you can hug them and let them know, hey, I've been there where you've been. And really identifying with somebody. And somebody, I was listening to the guy when he was speaking last night. I remember when I first came to the program, the first 3 years, a lot of my kinfolks died. And I was at a meeting and I was talking about it. I was focusing on it. My cousin committed suicide back in 1984, and it's still a mystery today. We don't know if somebody killed him or they threw him off in that mill out there in Bethlehem. And his son has grew up to be a beautiful young man. You know, and I'm glad that God left me here that I can be there and say, boy, you had a beautiful father. Father never got high. Real respectable. And at times, I can still hear my auntie crying because she, like I said, we've had a lot of tragedies in my family. And I saw the real intimacy and the love and the God and the relationship and the interaction between my mother got 7 sisters, 3 brothers, and when something happened, they'll come from East Hill. I mean, that's how close they are, and I admire that about them. And she tries to give that same example for us, but you know, me and my sister and them, I got one, she's self-righteous, got another one. I don't know where she be coming from. You know, like my man when he shared last night, I had to let them be in their space and place, you know. And they grateful for their brother Ricky. Because I mean, when they used to have him in them little kangaroo courts, they said, don't let him out. You let him out, he going to get high. And the judge was sitting up there with a big cigar in his mouth. He said, no, we ain't going to send you back to that place. We're going to send you to prison. And why I'm sharing about this, because see, this is also the month, I call this month my must month, that I didn't know if I was going to really hang in Narcotics Anonymous. Because my open mindedness wasn't there. You know, and it was like, only thing I could do was just come here and just show up. If they told me, man, to stand over in that corner on the top of my head and count marbles, I would get to meetings early, set them up and everything. You know, and I'm grateful that that attitude has kept me around these rooms. I don't do no whole lot of narcotics now. I don't try to speak everywhere, but if it's something that I have to do, I'll be responsible and try to do it. You know, I had a fear, man, when my cousin got killed in a head-on collision, and I come in recovery. I never drove a car. I would always be in a car either with Mike or they'd be taking me to a meeting, and I knew I could drive, but that paralyzing fear is still with me today. And I finally took a driving lessons. Got a permit. Even though I scared the shit out of the lady that was doing the thing, you know, and she put me right out there on the highway. I was just like a little kid, you know, and a long time ago I would be shameful to share that. You know, but I'm just glad to be a part of this, and I know that God had mercy and grace on me. Because sometimes I said I didn't even deserve God's grace. And my sponsor, you do deserve God's grace. Any addicts in these rooms, they deserve it, you know. And I'm just glad to be a part of this process, because, you know, that intimacy goes deep, because I always had the wrong interpretation of it. And I know today that intimacy is that I can be receptive to somebody else. You know, and that no matter what goes on in my life, it's okay that I can grow through it. It might not happen when I want it to happen, but God's timing and His watch don't synchronize with mine. You know, and I know that humility is a ideal state for the recovering addict. And I don't always be into humility. But I know I can always be striving for something, you know, family. And I'm grateful for this program. I'm grateful that I do have a home group. And it's called Changing Lifestyles. Some people like it, some people don't. But I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to stick and I'm going to stay. When I got to go through something in this program, I'm going to try to stick and stay. I used to be a runner. I used to want to look for the loophole. But God always seems to bring that Eskimo in my life. When I want to run, one of these beautiful addicts will come somewhere. I got some nephews, they 7 years old. They say, Uncle Rick, we want to take a nature walk. They just want to walk. That's why sometimes I be like, wow, boy, they want to run, they want to play baseball. And a valuable thing I learned early on, because like the males in my family, they're dying out. It ain't nothing but I got a baby brother and me. When it comes to our last name, it's dying out, you know. And I'm grateful that, you know, I can get intimate with my baby brother, you know. Because that's the only brother I got, you know, and a lot of my uncles don't die, you know, and today I'm just glad that I got intimate with a little brother that's at this retreat. He's 21 years old, and man, I identified with that little young bug. I identified with him, and I just held him. I said, man, hang in there, because I sponsored some folks that come in the program at 16, and today they 24, 25 years old with 6 and 7, 8 years in the program. And still sponsor them today, and grateful for it, that I had that opportunity to get intimate with another man. I can get intimate with another woman, and it ain't gotta be, you know, like I want to go to bed with her, you know. And today, man, that's some growth for me that I'm grateful for. That I can respect somebody's wife or their lady friend, and respect myself, because I never respected myself before I came in here. I'm grateful for this gift. I'm grateful for anybody that I come in contact with. And it might not always show. Because I never thought, man, that I would be worthy of something like this. Because I thought, man, they'd find me somewhere, man, with a bullet in my brain, trying to take somebody's dope like they found my cousin down in Memphis, Tennessee. with a bullet in his head with the bag in his hand. And I had to watch my auntie cry. I had to watch the father and the brothers, everybody just crying and all this. And this stuff still, I mean, this program is done for me when I couldn't do for myself. You know, and I'm glad that we everywhere on the map. When I can go to, I was making meetings down there in Memphis, Tennessee, way down there in Germantown. And somebody come to me and said, man, we love you, man, Ricky. It's going to be all right. And I still got a long way to go with that intimacy. 12 years, some stuff is just starting to really make sense in my life. Because I'm not no Speedy Gonzalez in recovery. You get it all, you lose it quick. You know, and today I just don't want to be that. When I was a little bitty boy, they used to call me Ricochet Rabbit because I could run real fast. Today, man, I try to take it a little bit slower. You know, and I really enjoyed last night doing a little dance, getting, you know, that wasn't in the plan, it just happened. You know, today I'm glad I ain't got a Santa Claus God. He don't give me all what I want. You know, he's been good to me, and a lot of people have, and sometimes I need to let folks know that I appreciate them now instead of buying them flowers. My mother always says that to me. Don't buy me flowers when they put me in the grave. Give them to me now. And that's the way I look at recovery. The women are the buds and the man's are the thorn, and we flower out in this program being governed by spiritual principles. You know, and today I'm grateful for the message that, hey, any addict, regardless of where they come from, has the opportunity to get up in this program and really find a spot in here. Because all I am is I'm just a little pebble on the beach. That's all I am. Because I know this program, sometimes I look at it like it's a mass production, like a group of ants together. They get together, man, and they be unified on a piece of little bitty bread until one of those big humans come step on them. That's how my mind freak out sometimes, you know. And that's why I know him, man. Like I like what Chuck said. It don't make no difference what you use. I had a buddy, and I'm a hush. Over in Chicago, he said he got high off some shit that used to blow up countries. And in my sick mind, I was saying, damn, I didn't get a chance to mess with that. I'm going to shut my mouth, family.
Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you do not wish to be taped, please let me know so that we can turn the machine off. Anybody care to share?
Good afternoon. My name is Raymond. I'm an addict. Where I'm at today is dealing with relationship and building and growing with building a relationship with myself. It's new to me. It's like being a newborn child coming out the womb. I'm learning so many new, wonderful ways to do things. It's like things I've never experienced before. And this is my first time ever speaking to a group from a podium, and I felt that I just needed to get up here and share, not from myself, but from my higher power, and let it flow through me. I've been going through the steps, one step at a time, and I've been learning how great it is and how grateful I can be in growing in the program of NA. It's helped me get blessed with a lot of good blessings. I've met a lot of people. I've met a lot of situations that I've had to deal with that I've never dealt with before, and most of them is dealing with myself. I find myself always, I used to beat myself up a lot, and I complicated things, and the relationship I have with myself has been probably my biggest problem, and I've come to use the education and the people at the tables to lighten up on myself, not not be so much of a hardcore human being as I've always been, and it's gotten easier for me. But I've got a long way to go with my road of recovery, and I just started, and it's wonderful to be where I'm at today. I'm clean, I'm sober. I had a chance to come here to this Camp Mac, and at first I didn't have the chance because I had a financial setback, but I had some friends help me out, so I was able to make it here. And I've enjoyed, this is my second workshop. I've enjoyed the listening, just sitting back listening and taking notes. I wrote things down that I think that I need to work with, that I need to identify with, that helps me build my foundation of recovery for myself. I've met a lot of great people here. Every time I hug a person, it just makes me feel like I am somebody. I am building that relationship with myself to understand that I can grow and I can be somebody good. Whatever my higher power, whatever God has planned for me, it's working. Because I've come a long way from where I was in the past of criminal institutions, mental institutions, bad times in the family home, with all the way to the streets of the violence and the crimes committed in the streets. All of that's in the past. I can understand that I've identified with where I've been in the past, and I've let it go. But today is a new day for me. It's the Lord's Day. I've went out to the tree just a little bit ago and seen that beautiful tree with its great limbs open wide, and that's interesting because I've did about 9 years of tree work, and I've always trimmed them up to look good and take them down the ones that needed to be. But I've never seen a tree quite that spectacular, with its arms reaching out wide, and this Camp Mac, I will be back here next year, and that's something I look forward to because it's got a lot of good spiritual growth here, and I'd like to come to something like this every week, but it's not that possible. I have to take each lesson at a time, one step at a time, and know that growth comes minute by minute with me. It's something I share, something that I believe in, and something that I work in my life today, that it's great to be where I'm at today in the program of NA. And thank you.
Somebody else?
I'm an addict named Dwayne. When I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, I got an NA sponsor, and he suggested to me that I get in a relationship with a higher power. And for me, I came into this fellowship in desperation, and after I got here for a while, I started looking for me a hostage. Women started looking good, and I got caught up, and my sponsor suggested me, he said, if you go there, you're either going to use or you're going to work some steps. And I had no understanding of any steps at the time. I was just looking for something to fill that spiritual void, to get that instant gratification. And I found it through food and sex and power and money, and that's what I was chasing. But in the process of doing this, I actually built a relationship with my sponsor because I was sharing these feelings with him. I trusted him, and by the grace of God, 8 months in the fellowship, I wasn't in a sexual relationship with any women. That was not my will. You know, I was busy working with my sponsor, making meetings, and you know, one day a girl came into my life, my disease, with clean time, and I bought into that, and I thought this was it because I wasn't praying for a girlfriend, and this girl came into my life, and I got her, and I caught myself trying to impress her, lying. You know, we do that sometimes in this fellowship. I know that I cannot recover without the ability to be honest, but sometimes I get so caught up in things that look good, I want to be better. I'm afraid that this person's going to figure me out and not like who I am. So I put on this mask, and I got caught up and I lied, and I got figured out. And when she left me, I was wondering why I still had an appetite, and how come I wasn't stalking her. You know, because I had a God in my understanding. See, when I was getting caught up with this girl, I put her in the God box, and today I know that God's the only thing that fits there. You know, the drugs didn't fit there, the women don't fit there. And sometimes when things are going Dwayne's way, I want to take credit for it. And I would remember being on the job, and this girl was the only thing on my mind. It was no longer driving to work, meditating, thinking about, hey, God, get me to work safely. So what is she doing? I can't wait to get home, take her to the movies or whatever. But anyway, I acted out on this lie, and she left me. And I still went to meetings. I still did the necessary things. Then I turned to God. And he was there, you know. And then I get into this other relationship. I really suggest that if we do get involved in a relationship and it falls apart, not to clean up the garbage at hand and then move on. But for me, I wanted to fill that void again. And I was looking, and I was acting out on old behavior in recovery, in the restaurants, flirting with waitresses, talking crazy to the fellas, you know, not having any spiritual principles in recovery, with almost a year clean at this particular time. And this other girl came, and she's from another fellowship. And right away, there was a clash, a conflict, because of her language and my language, but we got along. And I was thinking, well, this must be it. And I remembered the pain, not the pain that was like an active addiction, you know, not eating and who she's sleeping with, and I'm going to stalk her and all. It wasn't that kind of pain. It was just the pain of, you know, because when I came into this fellowship, you guys taught me how to love and care and share, and I wanted to give it away to a significant other. And I felt like something was missing, and I wanted to share it with, you know, not with just the fellowship, but with this person. And she came along, and I still caught myself wanting to repeat insanity in recovery, wanting to put on the mask. And my sponsor's wife's here today, and we share, and she tells it to me raw, and I don't want to hear it, you know. But I'm so grateful to have her in my life, because after it's all said and I get all my butts out there and she keeps shooting them down, I get the message. You know, the intimacy. I did not know how to date. I thought I could date, you know, but for me it was always putting expectations on other people and myself that after this is, you know, after I spend so much amount of money, I might as well just laid the money at the on the nightstand, took care of my business, and went on, you know, instead of wine and you know, the movies and all that kind of crap. I didn't mean to whine. That's old behavior. But what we do to try to impress people, you know, the red carpet and all that, and then all of a sudden, when they say no, we get upset. But as long as I keep God first, you know, as long as I'm God-centered. My girlfriend right now, she's in New Orleans at an NA convention, and like I said, she belongs to another fellowship, and that's the kind of open-mindedness that she has in this relationship. Whether she's there to buy me a t-shirt or she's just there to check it out and to broaden her spirituality or whatever, I miss her, you know, and I want to call her and I want to say, hey, I miss you and this and that, but she's probably out having fun, you know, with her friends. I come here with a few of my sponsees with my sponsee and a couple of my buddies, and I'm expecting, because a few addicts got together and we put a roof on a house on the weekend, and we come out here. It was a beautiful day yesterday morning, but when we get here, it's raining and it's crappy out, and I went home at like 1 in the morning, and I live 100 and some miles away from here, and I drove home because the day, it didn't meet my expectations. I was trying to get this girl off my mind by seeing joy in my friends, to try to give them a good time. And since it didn't work out like that, I took my bat and ball and went home. And today I knew. I woke up. I teach a Bible study class, and I went and I taught the children. And I got a sponsee, and I came on back out here today because I promised my friends I'd come and get them. They'll only let me waller in my shit so long anyway. As long as I keep God first, because it's God, then recovery, then me, and then you take a number, But I always know God's going to be there. I always know Mom's going to be there and stuff. That's why I exhaust all my energy into these relationships with females and stuff, because I'm always in active addiction. I always had to have a hostage. I was always afraid that they were going to leave me. So I would exhaust all my stuff, and then I'd get figured out later on, and then I would get hurt, and then I'd go through the pain. But today, I know without recovery, there is no job, there is no girlfriend, there's nothing but insanity. And for me to go out there and use over a relationship or get hurt would be insane, because I know for me, I wouldn't be lucky enough to die tomorrow. I would live in that shit for another 15 years. For me, recovery has been good, and sometimes I don't want to make out the gratitude list. Sometimes I don't want to look at all the things I'm grateful for, because I know 30 days in recovery, if I'm out looking for a woman, I get in a relationship and she breaks up with me, getting high might look good because I ain't got no assets. I ain't built nothing in recovery. It's important that I focus on, I get a relationship with my sponsor, get a relationship with God and my understanding, and then try dating or whatever. Don't get involved in anything that's going to defocus me from my recovery. Because without recovery, there is nothing but insanity, old behavior. Lies just to hang on to something that doesn't belong, trying to fix, manage, and control a relationship, trying to own something, and then put them in a jar and stick them up on a shelf and leave them there till we have time for them. That don't work like that. The program's giving me balance. It teaches me, that I don't own anybody, and when I'm God-centered, whatever happens, I can accept. I can find accept. I don't always want to accept it. But with my God's help, I could find acceptance in anything. And I no longer gotta beat myself up and get pain. I could find peace within. I could love within. My sponsor told me, if this relationship don't work, you didn't lose nothing, because you didn't come into NA with this person. So how did you lose it? This is all gifts that recovery had to offer, and only I could blow it if I choose to. As long as I got God and everything, I should be happy, joyous, and free, recovering addict. If I let these things become more important than my recovery, then I'm in trouble. Thanks for letting me share.
I'm Julie. I'm an addict.
Hi, Julie.
Is that on? I was thinking about there's a lot of good stuff that I heard. This is the first workshop that I came to since I've been here this weekend, and a lot of good stuff. I've just been sitting there thinking about the part, the relationship with your sponsor, and I've been real fortunate since I came into NA to have these ladies sponsor me that are real, and that really give a shit, care about me. And I don't know, at first, and I still sometimes don't. I don't know why. I guess just because I've learned that I'm worth caring about. I don't always feel that way. And I've had different types of sponsors. You hear some people say they have these real tough ones, and I had one of them. And when I look back, it's like I needed her then. And I don't know. It's almost like sometimes when I look back in my recovery, where I've been and where I'm going, I do see growth. Thank God, But I don't know how to explain it except that it all was supposed to be. I really feel like the people that my higher power put in my life to help me, especially the sponsors, because I was able to be intimate with my sponsors, because I knew that they really gave a damn, that they really cared. And so I got this sponsor now, today, that I'm real grateful for, because she don't judge me. And I really believe that anything that I get myself into, she's still going to be there. And I'm going to sit up here and cry too, Chuck, probably. I asked Chuck 5 minutes, he was right, before we got here, and I appreciate you coming up here. And to me, somebody, who was it, Ricky said, the heart hears the heart. How do you put that? What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And what better way than tears up here, and it does. It cleanses my soul. I've had a lot of changes going on in my life this past year. Last time I got away was last May. I was here, so it's like I really needed to come here. And it seems like things are going real fast and changing real fast. And so this is nice, because it gives me some time to reflect. And sometimes I go along and I hear people say, "Oh, I'm so grateful," and I believe them. I hear them. I hear it from their heart. I know they're grateful. And damn, where'd that go? Where'd that go for me? When's it gonna come? And it comes when I put forth the effort. When I come up here and sit down and open my mouth and open my heart, that's when it comes for me, for this addict. So that's really all I got. Thanks.
My name is Skip. Gratefully recovering through the grace of God, Danny Program people. I know, I was sitting there thinking, and about the relationship with my sponsor, and where I'm at with it. I was hoping he was going to be here today. Well, this weekend. He lives in Fort Wayne. I have a long distance sponsor. And I don't know. I've been dealing with something. An issue, because I got married Mother's Day, and I was kind of hoping he'd be there, and I called him and told him, and his mom lives where, my hometown, so I figured that if he was coming up, maybe he'd stop, and he didn't show up, and I haven't even got a congratulations, and I'm kind of bent, and I looked at the phone, but I don't want to call him, and he's a good man. He has a lot of patience, and I'm sure there's a reasoning for it, but so I'm dealing with that, because I'm at a point in my recovery where I don't know if it's when I want to go on to the next level, or I don't want to say I've outgrown a person, you know what I mean, because I don't feel that we do that, but I guess to a point where I'm considering looking for another sponsor, I guess, so it's something that I have to look into, because I'm feeling a little bit of left out, and today I'm not settling for second best, and so I'm gonna look for something where my needs, will be provided for. Not that they haven't, in the past, but so it's something that like I said, I'm reflecting over this year. I do sponsor people also, and I don't know. I guess sponsorship for me is taking what my sponsor has given me, and taking what works in my personal recovery, and giving it to my sponsees. So I don't sponsor my sponsors exactly how my sponsor would sponsor me, and so there are things that I do that my sponsor doesn't do, so and a lot of times that works, and sometimes it doesn't, because I've sponsored a lot of people. I've done 4 steps with my sponsees, You know, I've taken them through the steps. A couple of them have moved away. You know, some have clean time, some don't. You know, but I love all of them. You know, because it's a two-way street. They do for me. They do help me in my recovery also. You know, and they keep me on my toes. You know, and all I share is my experience. I'm a very opinionated person. If you're gonna ask me for an opinion, I'll give it to you. You know, but I try to share my experience. You know, and give an example through my experience because, you know, everybody's got an opinion. You know, so this is what I try to give them. You know, and the the flip side is they keep me on my toes, and it's an honor to sponsor someone. You know, it's really an honor. You know, when someone can confide in you. You know, this program, building a relationship with a God, was something that, I had to get with, and anybody that stays there has to find one, I know today that's what, keeps me clean is God. You people show me how to live clean. That's why I show up to the program, and today my God, I know, is always with me. I was at a point, in my recovery, I was going through some stuff in my personal life with my relationship with my wife, my present wife, and it was a pretty stormy issue, and all I had to latch onto, was a lot of meetings in God, and my sponsor, everything that went down the pipe, and people were saying this and people were saying that, and my sponsor told me that he loved me, that he'd be there, and that's all I could ask from a human being. When people were jumping ship, he was there. My God was there, and I came down to Fort Wayne for a little while, and one thing about the sponsor I do have, and like I said, it's a hard decision. This is a major decision for me. This is a man I've been with, and I've shared a lot of intimate things, over the years. And one thing I respect with this sponsor is that, he isn't a post-Tribune sponsor. My stuff don't leave the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and it's the same way with me. It's like, when my sponsees tell me something, I'm not going to go tell somebody when somebody asks me about my sponsees, I don't tell them a thing. You know what I mean? Because that's none of their business. That's between me and this other person, And so I don't go, get on, on the phone telling other people's lives, about other people's lives. That's just not me. And my sponsor is that way, and I respect that, and that's one thing, I can confide in my sponsor and not hear about it, somewhere in the fellowship. And I think that takes a lot. Not to do, because I've fed into it and I've practiced that, and I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been talked about and I've talked about, and they're both very ugly feelings. And it kind of breaks the spirit. So that's one thing I respect out of my sponsor, is that he's not a show and tell sponsor. And that's good for me. Somebody I can trust. And with my sponsees, I feel sometimes, it's time to be hard. Every sponsee and every person is unique in their own way. So you deal with a person in a different way. Some people need that push. Some people don't. I have sponsees, man, that want to do work, and I got sponsees, man, that I want to just choke because they don't want to do anything. And so that, and it's all a learning process. So sometimes I push too hard, and sometimes I step on toes, and sometimes toes need to be stepped on, and that's just how I feel, but I'm grateful, for the sponsor I've had, and it's gotten me through some storms. But it's something I'm considering, and this is not the first time this has happened, and I know what I have to do. I have to pray, because that's one thing. When I got this sponsor, I had left another sponsor that I had for a few years. And when I asked this guy to be my sponsor, he said, did you pray on it? You know, and I hadn't. You know, and after I did, and he said, we'll both go home, we'll pray on it. You know, it's not one of those guys that sponsor you out of ego. You know, will you be my sponsor? Okay, I'll sponsor you. You know, and not even think twice about it. You know, he's sponsored that he asked, you know, that I pray on it, and he said he was going to go home and pray on it. So we brought God into that relationship, and we do the same thing when we do work together. We bring God into the relationship, you know, and that's one practice that I try to do with my sponsees. You know, I meet with them. I try to meet with them on a weekly basis, my sponsees, because, you know, I have a long distance sponsor, and it's hard to get with him a lot of times. You know, he goes to school, he has another life, you know, he has life, and so it's hard. So I'm trying to give my sponsees, just like I treat my children, you know, I try to give my children a little bit better than what I had. And I do the same thing with my sponsees. I try to give my sponsees a little more than what I've had, you know, to give them just that little extra effort, you know, and whether they don't come or do come, one is going to show up, the Eskimo is going to show up, and we're going to have a meeting, you know, on a weekly basis. And again, it keeps me on my toes, you know. So I'm grateful for all the relationships I have in this program, you know, because it's about relationships. Program for me is about relationships. You know, the steps are about relationships. First 3 steps is building a relationship with a higher power. 4 through 8 is building a relationship with myself. 9 and 10, relationships with others. You know, 11 and 12 is building on all of those relationships. You know, so I feel this program is about relationships. You know, and not just with the significant other. And I hate to come, you know, because call it a curse or whatever, but my experience, man, when I start talking about, oh, my relationship with my wife is just beautiful, and we're batting 1,000, man, and then next year I see the same person, man, and they're divorced and shit, you know. So I don't talk about that relationship that often, you know. We have a working relationship, me and my wife, you know, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of patience, and a lot of that I get from God, you know, and the bottom line is that if I don't have God in the mix with any relationship I have, it's going to be a hard road to sow, you know, and I need God there, you know. But all I can say is my relationship with my wife is getting better, you know, and it does take some work, you know. But you know, for me, it's like, you know, relationship with other people, with significant others, you know, I try to keep that, you know, with a sponsor, you know, if I'm going through something. I don't like to put my laundry out on the, you know, in public view. I have a sponsor for a reason, for those intimate, you know, conversations, you know, because I've done that, and like I said, I don't like being on the front page, you know. It's tough, but I'm just grateful to be here, you know. Like I said, this is the last workshop, you know, and again, you know, it's that time where, you know, I wanted to be here for this last workshop. You know what I mean? This is a real special place in my heart. I come here and you know, they say keep coming back and bring somebody. That's what they told me the first year I came here. They said, man, you're gonna come back, bring somebody with you. You know, and I've been doing that every year, and you know, I just love this place, man. It just my soul, my spirit just, you know, it just thrives here. You know, it's a real special place for me. A lot of special people here, you know, that I love. I've learned to love, you know, that I can close my eyes and I can be here. You know, where I can be sitting in dirty old mill at work, close my eyes, man, I'm in Camp Mac. You know, people look at me, say, where you at, man? I say, I'm in my happy place. You know what I mean? This is my happy place, man. I use mental imagery, you know what I mean? And that's something that, you know, I got into, you know what I mean? I have a happy place. This is it. You know what I mean? So when I'm smiling at work, when the shit's hitting the fan, they think I'm crazy, but that's okay. You know, they don't understand. Very few will know. You know, and I'm just grateful to be a part of this. And I like to wish everybody love, peace, and recovery. I keep coming back.
Thank you.
According to the watch, it's time to close it up. You help me with the group hug and serenity prayer?
Charles in charge.
No, he isn't.
Yeah, we know. You've been in charge all 5 years.
I don't think so. This disclaimer on that one.
Hey, I can keep saying it.
I have a hard time keeping track of myself. Hey, welcome to the club.
Together, never get along. That moment sound for the other. Something in and out of the circle. Oh, another week.
God, grant us serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today. Keep coming back, first to deliver, leading us to be.
Right. I like that part. I like that part.
It ain't no work, yeah, don't work. Don't work, just do it.
Part about that word.
Wake up, start, stay up all night and read.
Gonna be all right.
We need to get a job. Thank you. That was nice. It was a good thing, I'm sure. Hey, Ray. Oh, stop. Great job. Thank you.
Just a question.
No, I didn't.
He is, man. Nobody does.
What helps is
If you get it, it's
Ooh, where's the map?
you didn't run out of it.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, then it ain't.
No. It's time to get
Don't be scared. This is our relationship. Don't be scared.
workshop.
Yes, we do.
Gotta see, we might be having a meditation tonight.
That's right, we gotta check with Ned. We'll check with Ned at dinner time.
Okay. What about this little guy right here? Where's my mom? I'm curious. What kind of talk is that? I'm curious.
I know that.
Oh, so you ain't gonna tell
No,
me?
I don't tell you.
I just got a friend of bag inside
Humor or something like that.
I love to talk. Thank you for letting me stay there.
I got something to tell.
Well, I mean, because sometimes it slips out by somebody else.
There ain't no slipping, man.
It might slip out to somebody else.
You're just
and then-
making sure it don't. I'm tired, man. Ready to go? I'm gonna go take a nap. I don't know, man. Don't matter to me.